Hello, guys. So it's Sandra from Inspired Keys. And if you saw my announcement on email or on Facebook about how I'm going to come on live at 9 p.m. Melbourne time, it is now 8:58 and you joined in. I really want to say thank you. It's awesome having you. And I am just very glad and very happy for you to join. So I'm actually trying out using Google Hangouts for the very first time. And yeah, I'm still pretty new to this whole thing. As I can see, there are 3 viewers. And as usual, if you are watching, I would love for you to just type into the chat, introduce yourself. Let us all know who you are, where you come from. And of course, the special thing about what I'm doing in this video, alongside all the other videos that I will do every day starting today, which is called the live teaching series, is that you get to ask questions as a live attendee, and I will pick at least one question to answer, provided it's answerable. Now, I'll just be very honest here. I'm not like God, so I can't really answer everything. Sometimes I need to do research, but I will take down your questions and look at answering them if time permits or where possible. Okay, so now it's 8:59 and I'm about to get started, but before that, Jay 517 says, greetings, Sandra from Poland. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. There are people from everywhere. I really want to say thank you for watching, and you're so welcome to just watch. And I'm just so excited for you to join us. I really hope that the audio is fine. The cool thing about this Google Hangouts on air is that I do plan to share my screen. Then you'll get to see exactly what I play. Okay, and my laptop says it's 9 o'clock, which means it is time for us to get started. So the first question I'm going to be answering today is from Inspired Keys Academy member Vicky Fowler. And Vicky says that she feels that she has not been able to play with feeling and emotion in her music. If I were to quote her verbatim, she says, I do play the piano in church and everyone compliments me, but on the other hand, I feel like my playing is plain and simple. I've never learned how to play fill-ins or improvising. I play a lot by ear, but I really want to be able to add more feelings and emotions to my music. I play songs over and over in my mind of how I want to sound, how I want it to sound, but when I began practicing, I'm simply stuck in a rut. So right now I am about to share some tips on how you can play with more feelings and emotions in your music. And I think I've actually added some information about this in the description box below, so do check it out. I hope it's been updated. Basically, I have 5 things to share about this. The first thing is there is this secret to beautiful melodic phrases, and that is actually like a mini crescendo and decrescendo in the music that you play. So I think it's not just in terms of a melody, but also a chord progression. And this is something that I picked up when my piano teacher, my favorite piano teacher, Mr. Timothy Koo, he shared how actually in every musical phrase, there is just this little crescendo at the start and decrescendo at the end. And it's not like you make it a very obvious one. It's actually really, really a very subtle kind of touch that you give that makes it different from sounding like a machine playing and a melodic phrase to a human playing. So if I were to use an example of like a melodic riff, like, okay, let's see. So if I were to use an example, okay, hang on a sec, guys. Let me see how I can do this. Yes, okay, I'm gonna have to mute my own video. That's funny. Okay, so great. So I hope you guys are able to hear my piano because I'm actually playing it right now. And this is not something that you need to actually look at, but more like something to listen to. So if you were to hear what I play right now, if I were to just make everything sound the same volume, like maybe, right? Like if I were to do that, and by the way, that's from Bethel Worship's Shepherd. I just love the bridge. And if I were to play that, like even if it's a bit lower, right? If I were to just play everything at the same volume and mechanically, it's just not going to sound like there's a lot of emotions and feelings in it. If I sneak in a little bit of a crescendo and decrescendo, though, there will be an effect like. Right? And so that's like da 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 da. There's a little bit of a crescendo decrescendo there. So I really hope that this is something that will revolutionize your playing. And if it works, be sure to let me know in the comments or just contact me through my contact form on inspiredkeys.com. The second thing I want to talk about will be tone. So tone is something that you kind of need to just hear as you play. Listen to how you play, and the tone comes across from how you sound generally. So I don't really know how to describe this because it's all very abstract, but basically there are people who are just really strong people, and I kind of mean quite a lot of my guy friends. Like I have friends who play the piano and they're these like awesome, amazing pianists. They tend to be guys, but then they also seem to play with a lot of strength. And so what I find is that the tone comes off very harsh. So it pays attention, you got to pay attention to how you sound. And I think a tip for this will be to listen to how you play by recording yourself and listening to it. Well, of course, when you're playing, you're also listening to yourself. But I find that sometimes when we're playing, we end up not really listening to ourselves, but we're actually just focusing on like what to play next and how to play correctly. So yeah, do give it a go with listening to yourself. Record yourself on your phone, your smartphone's voice recorder app or something that's extremely simple tech, and just hit play, listen back to yourself. Do you feel like there were sections where you could have improved in adding more feeling and emotion to your music? So that's just one thing to think about. And of course, the next thing is I think it's really important for us to even sing the tune. So I feel like this is something I learned as I went through my many years of classical music training. When you play the piano, it's a very instrumental instrument. Like you just, it's because it's a bit of a percussion instrument, you kind of hit something. And you don't actually have the opportunity to make a very legato kind of sound. This is like, the violin's very different though. If you play the violin, you have to make your notes kind of stretch, right? Whereas the piano, every time you hit a note, the sound just dies off over a matter of 10 seconds, right? So you can't even hear this anymore. And so I feel that as a pianist, especially, we have to pay extra attention to how melody sounds. And you kind of need to sing sometimes in order to create this sense of flow. So if I were to use that shepherd riff again, I would probably sing it like da 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 da. And so it's all really, really artfully phrased. You want to be really thoughtful about how your melody sounds. You can't just be like, okay, well, I know it's C, D, E, G, E, C, and you just play it like mechanically. You want to really listen to it and really come forth from your heart and shaping it. It's really a lot like, I don't know, like serving up a dish and a person who just can't be bothered and just scooping everything from the frying pan and onto the plate, versus the person who actually bothers to take the time and arrange it nicely on the plate. This is something that just came to my mind. And by the way, I am an example of the first one when it comes to food. I just can't seem to be bothered with putting food nicely and presenting it beautifully. It's just not my interest or forte, but it's that thing, like it's the food itself may be delicious for both plates, but one is beautifully plated and the other one you just can't be bothered. So in the same way, you have that talent, but you got to phrase it and bring it out across nicely. And finally, I have a tip, and that is to really worship the Lord as you're playing, because I feel like sometimes music is a language. It's a language when you play it in worship keys context. It's a language of love to God, right? You're playing an instrument and you're telling God how much you love Him. You're telling God, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And you're just trying to tell God how wonderful He is. And you are also expressing to the world, whoever's listening to you, that language of love. So when you love someone and you tell someone something, you can't just go like, I love you, or just be mechanical about it. You really have to have that emotion that comes forth, that like, I love you. I really, really love you. And you really want to really express from the bottom of your heart. And in the same way, I think it comes across in your music. If you really have that emotion unto the Lord, perhaps even adding to this point on really worshiping the Lord as you play, you might want to just think about how intimate you are with Christ. Like, when was the last time you really, really prayed and you you laid bare before the Lord and you just gave Him your everything, and you ran to Him, and you yeah, you went into God's embrace. When was the last time you have had a very, very intimate walk with God? And I think that kind of overflows into our playing sometimes. How close you are with Jesus and the sound that you make when you play for Jesus, I guess. So yeah, these are my tips. So yes, this is what I have to say about how to add more feelings and emotions into the music you play. So Vicky, I really want to thank you for asking this question. And at this point, I'd like to check if anyone has left questions. So Jay says, Sandra, I have a question. In my worship team, there's me and guitar. Is it okay if I play modern chord substitutions, everlasting 1 and 5, and so on, if guitar would play basic chords? Will it sound okay? And Nathan Barnes says, hi, Sandra from South Africa. This is so cool. Really want to welcome you guys. And at this point, I will answer Jay's question, because my promise was that if you attended live, I want to give you your reward for participating by picking at least one question. So let's just see how we go with time and everything. So Jay, that's a fantastic question. There's me and guitar, right? So that actually makes things really simple, because it's just you and one other person, as opposed to 5 other people. Because if I had to think about a bassist, an electric guitarist, or maybe 2, another keyboardist, then that's a lot more to coordinate. So now your question is it okay if I play modern chord substitutions? And the guitar plays the basic chords. I will say that it's going to sound okay, but at some point it may not really gel. So you won't get an overall very tight band dynamic, because there are little bits of differences in the chords that you play. So an example will be your typical like G chord, right? So I have a guitar, as you can see from the back there. The guitar traditional G is, right? So it's got that B, G kind of 6th interval at the top. And in my opinion, that just sounds really traditional and classical. And if you were to play your chord substitutions that sound modern and contemporary J, then it would probably sound something like, right, with that 5 and the 1 sound on top. So it's a generally same chord, but it might not really jive. Same for chord 4. I think 4 is even worse, because if we're in the key of C major, right? So we're having C major. So that's C major, and then you have a chord 4. The traditional chord 4 is, whereas if it was a modern chord substitution, I would play, right? And that would be an F, C, and G. So as it is, the F and the C would be the same, but then the traditional one is sounding an F on the top, while the modern one sounding a G on the top. So you're going to have an F-G clash that sounds like that, which is not the worst thing in the world, but neither is it the best, right? So you're going to have an overall effect that sounds like. So that's just breaking it down analytically, like in terms of the chords and the chord qualities. If two people were to play the same chord in different ways. So here's what I suggest, Jay. See if that guitarist is willing to try the modern contemporary way of playing the guitar. So I understand these are called power chords. And for the little that I know about guitar, because I used to play a little bit of it, just the guitar is a fantastic instrument that's really convenient. You can just pick it up and play in cell group. You don't need to connect to like a sound system. You don't need to carry a very heavy keyboard and think about main stage and stuff. So yeah, you just plug it. You don't even plug, just pick it up and play, right? So when I learned how to play guitar from a girlfriend back in uni in our dorm room, she showed me these power chords, which, you know what? It's just like Everlasting 1 and 5. It's easier to play and it sounds better. I don't know what's the deal, okay? But how can something be easier and sound better? It's just too good to be true, right? But it is. And so ask your guitarist friend, Jay, if he or she is willing to try and play these power chords. I just feel like it's gonna be a lot nicer sounding. So yeah, just give it a go. So yeah. Yeah, I guess my answer to you will be it will sound all right. It's not going to sound the best, but it will do. And it will be better if your friend can jump on board with the modern songs. Well, of course, at the end of the day, it depends on you guys, what kind of songs you sing. Because if you're singing a lot of traditional hymn stuff, then maybe it's better to have classical kind of traditional chords. Whereas if you're doing Hillsong, Bethel, Planet Shakers, which is more contemporary pop style, then I will highly suggest playing with your more modern kind of voicings. All right. Thank you so much, Jay. I am now going to answer another question from Inspired Keys Academy member Vicky. And Vicky says that she is very interested to learn how to play the old favorite Amazing Grace, which I shall assume is the good old hymn Amazing Grace. And she says she's interested to play, to learn how to play fill-ins. So fill-ins. So that's a very unique kind of thing because different people will play different kinds of fill-ins. So I think the best value I can offer is to just share my screen right now. You guys will see what I have on my screen. So hang on. Yep, I hope you can see my screen. I am screen sharing at the moment, and you should be able to see this Chordy app that I have. So, right, so I've got everything that I'm playing, and it should show up on your screen what I play. Okay, so so cool. This is, I guess, how I would play Amazing Grace. I have no idea what version Vicky wants me to play. I asked Vicky, but I don't think she's replied me in time. So I'm just going to assume a few things. I am going to assume that we're going to play in the key of C major, just because it's easy and it is, well, just, yeah, easy for anyone to pick up. And also, I'm just going to assume that it's going to be an accompaniment version. Okay, so not an instrumental version where I'm going to play the tune, or maybe I'll just do both. So perhaps I'll start with the accompaniment version where it's just primarily chords. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 Okay, so Vicky, if you're watching this, then you will see that I've got like a ton of additional stuff that I do. I kind of jazz things up a little bit, but that's quite the way it is with hymns, right? You just have a lot of avenues for creating your own cool little jazzy stuff. So if you want me to do like a set of strict chords because you're playing in a band and everyone's just sticking to those chords, please let me know and I'll do a different version. Now I'm going to just attempt a instrumental version of Amazing Grace. So something like that. I really, really hope that was helpful. And I'm just gonna stop my screen sharing right now and come back live here. Yay, I hope you were able to see it. And I'm just gonna quickly see if anyone has left any messages. Nathan says, what advice would you give for a keyboardist wanting to take their keyboard playing to the next level within a worship band? I want to be more spontaneous and less restricted. Any basic tips? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. So Jay and Nathan, so glad that you guys are participating in this conversation right here. And I am basically going to just look through what you say here, Nathan. What advice would you give for keyboardists wanting to take their keyboard playing to the next level within a worship band? I want to be more spontaneous and less restricted. Any basic tips? Okay, so one of the best things that I can think of is to join the Inspired Keys Academy, because not only am I doing a limited time $1 trial offer that gives you, you can take the Academy for a spin for 2 whole weeks for $1, and you can access all of the courses that I have already recorded, as well as the courses that I will be releasing. And there are some new courses that are just launched, such as the very basic main stage course that I've just created, and it was just put up into the Academy yesterday. I'm actually preparing 100 chord identification exercises where you get to practice identifying chords from 100 chord progressions made out of worship chords, okay? Not like fancy jazzy stuff, not just traditional stuff, but really worship style chords, okay? So that's going to come in really handy for anyone who wants to learn how to play by ear. But Nathan, you said that you want to take your worship keys playing to the next level within a band, right? So there's a lot of skills involved, because I feel as a worship keys player, if you are in a band, and depending on what instrument you play as well, because for our church in Crossway, the official terms will be the piano and the synth. The synth player plays the pads, and the piano player plays the piano, or the EP, right? Electric piano. So if you are a pianist, right, like not synth, if you play the piano, a lot of your job, I feel, is like leadership when you set the pulse at the start of a song, or embellishing, where you make the music sound good by adding layers to the band. Your job should not be to play and comp the chords the whole time. Maybe it is for like verse 1 or verse 2, where, you know, certain sections. But then when the rest of the band starts playing, like the guitarist is strumming the pulse and everyone else is jiving and grooving, I feel that that's when the piano should really just take a big step back and not play throughout. Like, we should never ever play throughout a song as a pianist, I feel. And if you do that, think about how much value you're adding, because if everyone else is already playing a whole lot, what does your additional playing do to the music, right? So I really think we should really pull out a whole lot more. So Nathan, to answer your question, I feel a lot of this comes from our own personal tastes, right? Music tastes. So when I play the piano and I'm in a band, whether it's a rehearsal or a live worship setting, I like to listen to what's happening. And then I want to see if what I so if it's gonna double, like if I'm comping and the guitarist is also strumming and we're all doing the same thing, I really don't have to comp. So that's just one of the skills. It's a skill on how to think like a music arranger as a pianist or as a keyboardist. But if you're talking about being a synth player, then it's also a very different art because if you play pads, you need to know how to shape your chords in a way that really fill the whole room. And at the same time, how thick your chords are, or perhaps the sound that you pick, what kind of pad sound you use, is going to have an effect on the atmosphere. Is it going to be too muddy? Is it going to be too distracting? Is there a lot of motion in your pad? Is it boring? And even then, a lot of it's not within your control because sometimes a pad or whatever sound you use sounds great to you through your earphones. But when it comes forth in the auditorium, or depending on how the sound guy decides to mix you, it can come across completely differently. So I've played music from keyboards with not very good sounds, and then it's like people are slain in the spirit and absolutely bawling their eyes out with encounters with Jesus. And then I've played awesome sounds with like, oh wow, I am melting as I listen to myself play because of the quality of the pad. But then people tell me from the congregation that it was very boring. So a lot of it's beyond our control. So to answer your question, Nathan, I think it would be important for you to have conversations and find out what other people do in like a keyboardist in a worship band context. It would help if I know a little bit more about what you mean, but it helps that you already said that it's about how to play in a worship band, right? As opposed to playing by yourself or playing with one other guitar player. But you did say, I want to be more spontaneous and less restricted. So one of the best things I can think of will be to create riffs and invent little musical patterns as you go. So less restricted is okay. So I'm trying to, like, a lot of it is assuming right here, because unless you tell me more as I am answering your question, restricted can be in the form of restricted to what the recording plays. So you're only playing what the recording is playing and you're strictly following how Hillsong did it, for example. Or are you feeling restricted in terms of chords? That we're strictly only going to use this set of chords and you can't deviate from it? Are we saying restricted in terms of musical style, like you don't really dare to create too many riffs because the church is very conservative? So I don't really know what you mean here, but I guess one good way to start will be to listen to a wide variety of music, like different genres, and see if you can just use your own style and flavor in the music and try to infuse something different every time you go. So it requires a little bit of an experimentation spirit, I guess. Okay, so Nathan, you added, well, I am the only keyboardist. We have one guitarist and 3 singers. Okay, that's nice. So it's a pretty small and cozy little band, almost like a cell group. Sometimes 2 singers. Okay, that's fine. I feel sometimes I have performed the function of both the synth and the keyboardist. Yeah, you know what? If you are the only pianist or keyboardist, you would probably have to. And I don't know how to do it because unless you have main stage where you could manually adjust the levels of the pad and piano. Yeah, it's pretty hard to find, I think, on a traditional keyboard, a good piano and pad sound, unless you're pretty good at exploring the functions of how the sound banks work in a traditional keyboard. And Nathan says, I would like to be able to improve in terms of creativity. I have reached a point where I think my playing is a bit flat and need to develop my skill. So I want to improve in terms of improv. Yeah. So inside the Inspired Keys Academy, I do have lots of training videos on how you can improvise. And even within improvisation, there are lots of different topics. Riff creation is one of them. Playing in a different accompaniment patterns, one of them. And there are lots of videos that I've already created on YouTube, but also even more in-depth training inside the Academy. So go check that out. Take the $1 trial and see if that helps you. And if you want even more, I could discuss with you and create even more courses for the Academy itself. So Nathan, go check that out. And also just go check out my other videos on improvisation tips. I'm pretty sure I've got some of those inside. But yeah, playing flat, right? Like I'm just picking the words that you say, has a lot to do with contrast. So I don't know how much contrast you play between sections and between songs. So go check out the videos that have been coming out recently. This whole entire series on contrast in density, contrast in intensity, in keyboard range and dynamics. Go check that out, because when you have contrast, you sound interesting, you sound fresh, and it's basically nice to listen to you. So that's one factor out of many factors. Go watch the video on riffs, licks. I think it's inspiredkeys.com/rifflicks, RIFFLICKS. Let me just type it in here. I really believe it should be this one, rifflicks, as well as inspiredkeys.com/rifflicks too. So these are videos that I created recently that would give you some ideas on how you can create and invent little riffs and motifs on the fly. And that could help to shape the way you play. Nathan, I do want to add that one huge way that we can improve is inside the Academy. Academy members are welcome and encouraged to post videos or audio recordings of how you play, because I think when I can finally hear how you play, I can give you specific pointers on how you can improve. Maybe you can contrast very well, but then maybe you don't know how to invent riffs on the fly. Well, then that's something that I could work with you specifically and give you some very specific pointers. So I really look forward to hearing you play, Nathan, and love to see you join the Academy. So I'm just gonna quickly look through the chat. I don't seem to see any other questions at this point. I'd like to share the screen one more time, because I'd like to just show everybody around what it's like inside the Academy. Great. So here's my screen again. You are looking at my laptop, and I want to show you what it's like when you join the Academy. So here's where we have the Inspired Keys Academy members area. And in here, this is sort of like the old style. Initially, we had all these forums, but then we've kind of migrated to Facebook group, because more people have Facebook and it's fine. So I just want to walk you through courses. So when you click courses, you're going to go into all the courses that I have already created, and that's loading. So they are grouped according to topics. You could also search. And so here we go. We've got topics on things like warm-ups, playing with a steady tempo, all about everlasting 1 and 5, how to use right chord voicings. And if you can't find what you're looking for, you could search, or you could just pop me an email and I'll be happy to guide you to where you want to go. So those are just the courses. There's many pages of them. As you can see, 2 pages filled with lots of topics, and this is not it. There are some other topics that are not within here as well. General discussions where you can post any question you have, and we've taken this over to the Facebook group, which I will show you in a minute. Get feedback here is also something we now do on Facebook, because it's a lot easier for everyone to watch you play there. Handouts is where I keep all of the handouts that I've done recently on specific topics, like how to invent riffs and how to play in sync with the drummer and all that. Those very like lesson specific videos. I created handouts, and as an Academy member, you can access all of them. I used to put all my recorded member calls in here, but nowadays I have moved on to just giving live feedback such as this video. So these ones are just member calls from previous recordings, which you could watch and learn. So there is still value, and that's why I'm keeping it here. You could request a training course if you feel like there's something that isn't in the academy. You could watch all the specific keyboard view videos. So if you've watched some of my recent YouTube videos, you will see that I played some stuff to demonstrate how to play better. And the specific keyboard view, like the one you saw just now, they are all recorded and packed in this link. You could access the 31 Days to Better Worship Keyboard Playing ebook by clicking on this link, and it will send you to the ebook directly. The ebook itself is $49, so it's really, really great value joining the academy, which is only at $39 per month, or even cheaper per month if you pay upfront the annual membership. And if you ever want to change your password or upgrade or cancel your subscription, you can just click here to go to your membership account. So I will now show you the Facebook group. So here's the Facebook group, and it's a closed group, so you are only invited if you are a member. And you can see that there are announcements that come from me. We welcome new people into the group. We get exclusive announcements, such as the very basic main stage course, which I created and launched yesterday within the academy. You could access it right here. I'm just gonna give you guys a sneak peek of what it's like inside the main stage course. It's pretty much loading, so I'll show you that later. But yep, I've got content information, I've got video links, I've got questions and discussions that I want to make sure that I serve the Academy members first, so you get to ask your questions and I make sure to answer you before I answer anyone else. You get to post your questions. Here's Academy member Shinzia sharing about how it was disastrous for her in her recent worship service. And look at the number of people who chipped in, and all the other kinds of disasters that we had individually. And I'm very sure you could add your own disaster stories. So yeah, there are all these things, the discussions going on that just help each other grow as worship keyboardists. And yeah, I think my main stage course would have loaded by now. Oops, sorry, I can't really access it from here because I didn't log into my academy from inside the Chrome. But yes, guys, this is basically how it's like inside the academy. I will say the value is not so much just in the content, but the conversations and the Q&As and the feedback for your playing. Because I think that's where you really get pointers direct and specific to your playing. So if you're interested to join the Academy, guys, I am running a limited time $1 trial for you to just go into the Academy for 2 whole weeks. You just pay $1, access all the information, ask questions, share your topics, share your struggles, and I, together with other Academy members, will be very happy to help you out and encourage you or to give you feedback on your playing and stuff like that. So I just want to really quickly see if we have any other questions. Nathan says, can I send you a message on here somehow? I would like to discuss that Academy idea. Awesome. So Nathan, you could really email me. Sandra@inspiredkeys.com or Sandra.inspiredkeys@gmail.com. You could also send me a message through my contact form on inspiredkeys.com. So there are different ways that you could contact me. But guys, I just really want to thank you so much for spending, I think it's been 37 minutes or more on this Q&A. I do have a schedule on when I come back up to answer questions like this and take questions from live attendees. Go to inspiredkeys.com/schedule. So I'm just going to type it in here, inspiredkeys.com/schedule, and you will see my latest schedule on when I'm going to come up live and answer questions, and you will get a, not that you will, I mean, just in case I get 100 questions I cannot handle it, but if there are if there's the opportunity, I would be very happy to answer at least one question from live attendees to reward you for participating with your precious time. So I really want to thank you for watching today's Q&A and live teaching session. I'm going to see you tomorrow at Melbourne time, 2:30 p.m. for another live teaching session. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, and we will see you then. Bye.